What is going on, my beautiful brothers? UFC Macau is upon us, and we are about to drop some of the greatest picks in this space for this full card prediction. So strap in, get ready to enjoy, and there's going to be a lot of prop bets that we can light up and highlight for this card because I think it's going to be a finish fest as we head on over to Macau, China. Without further ado, guys, I'm not going to start at the bottom of this card because I want to get straight into the juicer. I want to get straight into the top of the card. I'm excited for this. I think there's going to be hella finishes. So let's bust into that main event. We got Song Yadong taking on Davison Figueiredo, aka Figgy. Listen, I think this is a tailor-made matchup to get a young Chinese prospect in Song Yadong out there in front of his people breaking skulls. I think he's going to knock out Davison Figueiredo. I'm not going to talk about Davison Figueiredo's wrestling and his championship level experience. Look, he's 38 years old and he's looking it. There's a difference between fighters that are coming out here still putting on championship level performances and all the rest of it. While Davison Figueiredo has been able to use his championship medal to get a couple of wins here at bantamweight, he's snuck past a few lower tier competition against Song Yadong. You cannot have defensive holes. You cannot have questions about your heart. You cannot have durability issues. Ultimately, I think that Song's going to be bigger, stronger, more powerful, and he's so durable that I'm not even too worried about the punching power coming back from Figgy. So give me Song Yadong to go out there, crack skulls, and put away Davison Figueiredo in what might be a retirement fight. So top of the bill, Song Yadong by knockout, lock that shit in. Co-main event time, we got Ming Yang Zhang, the Mountain Tiger, against Alonzo Atomic Menifield. I want to highlight a few key performances here for Alonzo Menifield because you look here and you see Carlos Olberg. He rushed Carlos Olberg, couldn't deal with the punching power coming back at him, couldn't deal with the youth, the athleticism, all the rest of it. Then he went out there, Azamat Murzakanov. Hand speed was the issue here. And obviously he got a win over Julius Walker. Julius Walker is probably one of the least athletically gifted individuals in the UFC's light heavyweight division. I will repeat that statement. Julius Juicebox Walker is probably one of the least athletic individuals in the UFC light heavyweight division. And I think that's why Alonzo Menifield was able to get a win over him. Here against Umar Sy, this was less about what Alonzo did and more about Umar Sy just thinking he was going to win a decision. This was a lackluster performance in which he chose not to engage. If he chose to just let his hands go a little bit more, I think he could have got Alonzo Menifield out of there. He just let it slide by, and ultimately that was a huge upset at the time, but we're starting to see Umar Sy isn't quite the fighter that we think he is. Then against Volkan Oezdemir, back to fighting a fighter with hand speed and who is willing to engage, and he gets knocked out again. Guys, I'm leaning the trend here. Ming Yang Zhang, when he gets it done, it's, round one knockout there against Tuco, round one knockout against Brenton Rivera, round one knockout against Ozzy Diaz. The weakness in Alonzo Menifield is young, athletic strikers who are willing to engage, and that's what he's got here in front of him. So give me the Mountain Tiger. I think it's a round one KO, but if you just want to sign up for the Mountain Tiger, Ming Yang Zhang to win by KO, I completely understand. His money line is also touchable as well. So I'm going to go Ming Yang Zhang by knockout. As I say, guys, a lot of finishes on this card. Taliesin Teixeira, he's coming in here, 26 years young. He only has 10 professional fights, and now he's got to fight Sergey Pavlovich. Let's not get caught up in the Taliesin Teixeira hype just because he's been training with Alex Pereira. Taliesin Teixeira is a huge, tall kickboxer, and he's coming in here against Sergey Pavlovich. It's Sergey Pavlovich round one. It's Sergey Pavlovich round one by knockout. Why try to change something that isn't broken? Sergey Pavlovich was once the destroyer of the heavyweight division, and against Taliesin Teixeira, I believe he looks like it again. And I think Taliesin is he's just too green. He doesn't really have the defensive tact that you're going to need to get past Sergey Pavlovich. You see these two losses here. Tom Aspinall, former UFC heavyweight champion, arguably one of the greatest heavyweights that we've ever seen, the heavyweight talents, and he got past Sergey. And then obviously Volkov. Volkov is an incredible kickboxer, incredible at using his range and all the rest of it. So this loss is entirely understandable. Since bounce back, wins against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, wins against Waldo Cortez Acosta. Anybody picking Taliesin Teixeira in this spot, I very much question where your faith in him is coming from. So I'm going to go Sergey Pavlovich by knockout. You want to dig deeper, Sergey Pavlovich, round one knockout. Then we have Kai Asakura taking on Cameron Smotherman. Guys, Cameron Smotherman beat Jake Hadley, but as we know, Jake Hadley just isn't UFC level. Prior to that, we've got the Surrey City decision loss there where he just couldn't deal with the range, couldn't deal with what Sergio said he was bringing, and then a loss to Ricky Simone as well. This was a closer contested bout, though. In this matchup here, the issue that I'm having is Kai Asakura, he's got these wins over here in Ryzen. He's got wins over the likes of Kyoji Haraguchi. These losses, though, look, the loss over here back in Ryzen, this is 4 years ago, lost to Alejandro Pantoja, lost to Tim Elliott. We haven't seen him win inside of the UFC. There's 0 wins from Kai Asakura under the UFC banner. And even though I don't love Cameron Smotherman, we've seen his weight cut issue where he face planted after making weight on the scale there, I don't love this matchup here because Kai Asakura hasn't shown me that he can win. So for him to be a 3-1 favorite here, I'm not loving it. I'm really, really not loving Kai Asakura in the spot. I know a lot of people are saying Cameron Smotherman's hittable. Kai Asakura is just going to be able to light him up and get a knockout. And I get that. But if he doesn't put away Cameron Smotherman with a knockout, if he doesn't impose his power early, Cameron Smotherman is decent boxing. He could start to pressure Kai Asakura if he feels comfortable in there. We've seen Kai Asakura deal damaging blows over in Asia, but it hasn't translated to the UFC circuit. So, that loss to Tim Elliott was really showing that maybe he's not the UFC level. So this is a big step down in competition. This is a new division for him under the UFC banner. I hope it treats him well. I would like to see a Kai Asakura knockout here. But as for the official pick here, I'm going to take Kai Asakura, and I'm going to take him to win by decision. But it's a low confidence pick here. I wouldn't be targeting Kai Asakura if I was you guys. That is not a BetSam approved play. Next fight, we got Jake Matthews taking on Carlston Harris. I think that Jake Matthews is on a 4-fight win streak. This Neil Magny loss here, if you guys go back and watch that fight, the ref thought that Neil Magny was out, took Jake Matthews off before the bell, and then restarted the fight. This is ultimately like an absolute slap in the face for Jake Matthews. This was at home, I believe, at Perth. Absolute slap in the face. He should be on a 4-fight win streak here. Neil Magny ultimately magnied him, in round 3 there. Carlston Harris, lost to Shavkat, excusable. Win over Jared Gooden. This guy's toast at this point. Win over Jeremiah Wells, not a great win. Chaos Williams knocked him out. Santiago Ponzinibbio. This was ruled a knockout. He did get knocked down multiple times. I think that the knockout was a little bit, not suspect, but perhaps too early for my liking. But he is susceptible to being hit and lit up on the feet here. If I'm Jake Matthews and his team, right, you can see that what cost him in his fight against Magny here was engaging in the grappling unnecessarily when he had a striking advantage over Neil Magny. Now, if you can mirror this exact matchup here, what has he got in front of him? He's got a taller individual that does have some threatening, dangerous submissions, so don't stick your head in there and you won't get caught. So, Jake Matthews, you have the boxing advantage here. If he understands it and his team looks at the tape here from Carlston Harris, you avoid the big right hand because he does have this kind of throw his arm at you right hand that Carlston Harris has that's deceiving with power. If you can avoid that big right hand and just light him up, be faster, be younger, be quicker, then I think Jake Matthews can win this fight by knockout relatively easy, and he's one of my more confident picks. If he starts to do some bullshit grappling unnecessarily, it could work out for him, but it could also end up, with Carlston Harrison getting a submission there. He is dangerous and threatening with front chokes and submissions. So I'm going to take Jake Matthews to win this fight via knockout. Then we got Alex Perez taking on Sumu Darji. Alex Perez, this is an interesting matchup for him because you go back and you watch the tape on Perez. In round 1, with his hands, he is a very dangerous individual when he chooses to engage and, let those boxing combinations fly. He does slow down later in fights, and that power seems to be less present, less damaging. And so ultimately here, if you think Alex Perez is going to win round 1, which he very well might because his boxing is dangerous in round 1, then he's only got to win 2 or 3 to win a decision here. So you could take Alex Perez to win by decision. I wouldn't hate that play, but I'm taking Sumu Darji all day, man. I think the Tibetan Eagle in China is like a mythical fighter in the UFC flyweight division. He's incredibly long for this division at 5'8". Even though he's a little bit thinner, he does really make people work in there. And if he can keep up a pace here, then I think he can win rounds 2 and 3. And as long as he doesn't get clipped and KO'd by Alex Perez in round 1, which is a real danger, then I think Sumu Darji can go out there and win a decision. I think Alex Perez is tough, but Sumu by decision is going to be my official play. Lock that in. Give me the Tibetan Eagle to get it done in Macau. Then we have Luis Felipe Diaz taking on Yisak Lee. This is a matchup where it's difficult to really understand where each fighter is at because you've got Luis Felipe Diaz, who is coming in off that the Contender Series victory here, where he hadn't fought for almost 3 years, 2 years or something like that. And he comes in there, looks great, looks dangerous, looks powerful, looks like a mini Vitor Petrino, if you ask me. And then he takes on his opponent here, Yisak Lee, who's been looking dominant against all of these opponents. Multiple submission wins, multiple ground and pound wins, but he's fighting against these Asian fighters that don't really have a ground game, and so it's difficult to understand where he's going to rank up against Luis Felipe Diaz. I'm going to say something that could be incredibly off. It could be just me, reading into something a little too heavy, but the physiques here, you look at Luis Felipe Diaz against Yisak Lee, I think Luis Felipe Diaz is going to ragdoll him. I think he's going to toss him around at will. And Luis Felipe Diaz is dangerous with the submission game. So Yisak Lee could feel overwhelmed in there, look for a way out, and Luis Felipe will close the doors on him. So I'm going to take Luis Felipe Diaz to win this fight inside the distance. If you want to go one step further, he's capable of the knockout, but I'm going to pick submission. And if you want to go one step further than that, you can take a Luis Felipe Diaz by round 1 submission. You can find that price tag as high as plus 575, which is 6.75 for my New Zealand and Australian homies. We've got Ming Ding taking on Jose Henrique. Look, just like Taliesin Teixeira, I think Jose Henrique has some tall guy defense that hasn't caught up with him yet, but it absolutely will. And Ming Ding, while this is a bit of a meme fight, Ming Ding has 44 fights of professional experience. He's got about 28 knockouts or something, if I'm not mistaken. I think he can light up Jose Henrique here, snipe him on a counter-strike, get the Chinese people revved up here. So I'm going to take Ming Ding to win this fight by KO. I'm just not sold on the defense of Jose Henrique, despite him being quite tall and large. I think that he's just, he's got by with his athleticism and his youth and the live competition, and I think he could catch up to him here. Then we got the Mongolian murderer in Richie Lang taking on Cody Haddon. Guys, Cody Haddon, I think he's got something, man. I think Cody Haddon's one of those guys where we haven't seen him in a while because he's had surgeries and injuries and layoffs, but I think he's a special fighter, man. You watch that Dan Argueta performance, Cody Haddon, really, really, really turned up in that fight. And while Richie Lang is a dangerous fighter, he's got that big right hand, he's got that right hand left hook low combination. He is almost 33 years old, and at the bantamweight division here, he's always been a bit hittable, and they've given him Cody Haddon, who can throw bombs, man, and he can get up from takedowns. He's shown that he's durable. He's shown that he's got gas tank. If we get the same version of Cody Haddon that we had seen previously, I think he lights Richie Lang up here and knocks him out. The layoff is a concern, but if you're a believer of Cody Haddon like I am, probably toss him in some parlays, you know what I'm saying? Throw a little Haddon in some parlays in there. I'm going to take Cody Haddon to win this fight by knockout. And it might not be an actual knockout. Could be a standing TKO. Could be a cut stoppage. I think Richie Lang is there to be hit. We saw in this fight here that was deemed a no contest due to the unintentional groin strikes. He was getting pieced up by Daniel Marcos. And I understand Marcos is an incredible fighter, but Daniel Marcos really, really put it on him there and had him busted up in multiple ways. His face was bleeding bad. He really was starting to get chewed up in that matchup there. And this matchup could look very, very similar in my opinion. And while, Richie Lang was having his own success in there, I think it's not going to be enough unless he puts Cody Haddon out. So give me Cody Haddon, high confidence pick. And we got Ray Saruya taking on Luis Gurley. Luis Gurley, kind of an underdog story here, defeated by Odo Osborne, defeated by Jesus Aguilar, defeated by Alden Correa, probably on the brink of being cut by the UFC, goes out there and gets a win against Daniel Barrez, now getting flown halfway across the world to the very next event, and he takes on Ray Saruya. Ray Saruya coming back after a long layoff since losing to the now champion Joshua Van. So has he improved? Are we going to see leaps and bounds here? I would say yes. Ray Saruya, almost 24 years old, 10-1 prospect coming out of Japan, fighting over in the Asian circuit here under the UFC banner. I expect his motivations to be incredibly high, and I think he can get past Luis Gurley here. I liked what I saw from Luis Gurley, but Luis would have taken some damage in that fight because while he beat Daniel Barrez, there was, hundreds of strikes thrown from either fighter. So I expect Luis Gurley to not be coming in here, not nursing some kind of injury. So I'm going to pick Ray Saruya just based more off the fact that Luis Gurley is, in my opinion, going to be a little compromised. And that's 2 weight cuts for Luis Gurley in a pretty short space of time. And while he's not an enormous flyweight, I don't love 2 weight cuts for anybody in that short space of time, in that short window. So I'm going to go Ray Saruya here. Official prediction, Ray Saruya by submission. Then we got Angela over Curl Overkill Hill. And she is over the hill. And what I mean by that is, despite still getting some wins, her last win comes a year and 3 months ago against Caitlin Souza. Losses to Sabitha Ricci, losses to Isma Lucindo, losses to Fatima Klein. It seems like she's a prospect feeder at this point. 41 years young, taking on Jingning Zhang, UFC newcomer, who is now coming over from one championship, considering they dissolved the women's divisions there. So she was a free agent. The UFC scooped her up, and they're looking to get some hype behind her by knocking out a notable name in Angela Hill. I'm going to take Jingning Zhang here to win this fight by decision. I know that she throws heavy, and that could result in a knockout against Angela Hill. She's not really used to dealing with huge power and all the rest of it, but I think it's going to be a damage-based decision where you can see Jingning Zhang looking to deal out punishment. You can see Angela Hill looking to point score, and I think they're going to favor the fight-ending intent from Zhang there. The Panda, not a high-confidence pick from me. Then we have Kang Ji Zhu taking on Rodrigo Vera. Guys, I am looking forward to this matchup more than any other matchup on the card. Peru is having a real resurgence inside of the UFC right now, and Rodrigo Vera could continue that momentum. We've had Juan Diaz, we've had Jose Ochoa, we've had an enormous surge from Peruvian MMA recently, and this could be no different. So Kang Ji Zhu here, 21-4. He's coming in here. They're very similar in age and experience. But this is what I believe is truly going to be the X factor, is that Kang Ji Zhu is training here with Ron Zhu. He's been in New Zealand. He's been training out of City Kickboxing, getting that cross-training in with the likes of Dan Hooker and the boys down there at CKB. And he's coming in here in the best shape of his life. And I think he's treating this fight like this is the fight of my life. And I expect him to go out here and really put it on Rodrigo Vera. I don't disrespect the skill set that Rodrigo Vera possesses. It takes a lot to be a 21-1 fighter. Has a win over Juan Diaz, which is obviously his most notable shiny victory there. But Kang Ji Zhu is a beast of a different color. He's going to come here and not just look to win minutes. He's going to look to create damage. He's going to look to excite. And I think he's going to get either a decision victory here or a KO. I'm really tossing up between the two. But for the sake of violence, give me Kang Ji Zhu to win this fight by knockout. Then we have, Jesus, that hurt my throat. Jacqueline Amorim taking on Loma Lookboonmee. Loma, 4-1 in her last 5. Jacqueline Amorim, 4-1 in her last 5. Both these women coming off losses. The Loma side losing to Alexi Tanara. No judgment in that whatsoever. I think Alexi is phenomenal as a fighter. And Jacqueline Amorim losing to Mizuki now pissed me the fuck off, honestly. I really picked Jacqueline Amorim there with high confidence. I think she sold me on a pretty lengthy, profitable parlay there. So I'm a little bit mad at Jacqueline Amorim, but when I look at this fight objectively, I still have to pick her to win here. Loma Lookboonmee hasn't shown me enough to make me believe that she's going to be able to defend the takedowns here, going to be able to defend the submission attempts. And you look at that 61.5-inch reach there, that to me screams like there's armbar opportunities, there's hidden arm triangle opportunities. Jacqueline Amorim is going to be able to float on top of her in positions and hunt for submissions. So give me Jacqueline Amorim by submission to sink in the remainder of this card, guys. And that is it. That is the breakdown for this card. I will be live for the prelims, guys. The prelims are going to run from, I believe it's 8 p.m. New Zealand time to 11. So it's a late Saturday night card for me, which is a bit of a treat. Maybe I'll get a few brewskis together, sip a few beers with the boys. So if you want to come support your boy BetSam, come on through to the live stream and we'll watch the prelims together. I may stream some of the main card. I'm not sold on that just yet based off of purely the fact that I'm an old man who goes to bed before midnight. But I appreciate you all for watching this video. If you did enjoy, hit it with a like, comment which fight you're looking forward to. And as always, guys, I love you all, and hopefully we can make some money this weekend. I'll see you soon.